what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees, starting with you, Musa. Thank you for your generous contribution, and your comment there reads, "Been a while since I bought a coffee. We appreciate you." Thank you, Musa. And then we got Nala, my guest from last weekend's episode. Thank you so much for your generous contribution. I'm not going to say how many, but it's a lot. And your comment there reads, "Thanks for letting us unpack parent wounds." And last but not least, Nelly, thank you so much for your generous contribution. And your comment reads, "Listening to the pod is a guilty pleasure for me. Thanks for your dedication and continued effort." If you'd like to give to the podcast in a similar manner, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there is nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. With that out of the way, let's get straight into this weekend's episode. And all I have to say is you guys are not ready.
Você que está ouvindo esse podcast, o que acha de uma empresa que sempre trabalha para trazer impacto positivo? Assim é o Google. Como? A Duda da Orbi é um exemplo disso. Ela usa a inteligência artificial para ajudar pessoas a recuperarem seus movimentos. É a tecnologia mais útil na vida das pessoas. E tem o Jefferson da Tributei, que usa inteligência artificial para facilitar o dia a dia das empresas. Eles e milhares de empreendedores geraram mais de 188 bilhões com as plataformas do Google. Tem que ser bom para todo mundo. Curtindo um podcast, né? Sabe o que você também vai curtir? Saber que o melhor flip de todos os tempos chegou. O novo Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6, com Flex Cam, que tem zoom automático e faz selfies de 50 megapixels. E com bateria estendida para nunca te deixar na mão. Vá a uma loja ou saiba mais em samsung.com.br. Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6. Galaxy AI chegou.
Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hello?
Hey, what up?
Hi, Tinto. What's good?
Sorry, I'm 2 minutes late. I was struggling with the connection for this thing, and I'm like, this is not the normal way of doing stuff, but here we are connected.
We are. It's only 2 minutes. I forgive you.
You say it's only 2 minutes, but say that to a man who's trying to have a good sex.
That's where we are.
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you, Tinto. Tinto the therapist, thank you for having me.
Hey, Deuri. For those listening to the podcast for the first time, it's a romantic family and friendship breakup podcast showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give lessons from their experiences. Now, I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. Now, the podcast is also popular for two main reasons. The first being I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part for me, the naming ceremony. Yep. Are you ready for the name I have for you?
I am.
Cool. So I've ventured over to West Africa, and this is an Igbo name. And the name is simple, just 3 letters. It's Ada, A-D-A.
Okay.
And what that means is first daughter. Are you a first daughter by any chance? A firstborn by any chance?
That one is complicated.
Hey,
it depends.
let's leave it alone, I beg.
Yeah, let's leave it alone.
Before I start inviting you for another type of his episode, right? So you're Ada, which means first daughter. And what are you calling the name of the guy that you want to talk about today?
Okay, so I'm going to call this guy Dia.
Just Dia. Oh, okay.
Dia.
That's quite endearing, because Dia is a nice word to say someone that you care about. They're dear to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When did you leave Zim Tinto? Early 2000s, if this shows my age. Mm-hmm. If you were in Zimbabwe, early 2000s, there was like a ban on international music. It was only local.
Yeah. I remember that, yes.
So if you didn't have DSTV, you were stuck listening to all our Zimbabwean artists 24/7.
Yes. That was during the era of Jonathan Moyo, wasn't
exactly.
it?
Spot on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a song, Yenzi Dia. Yenzi Dia Wangu.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no. That's not the Dia I'm talking about. I'm talking about Dia for Dia Bros. Musatanyoko. Muroi. So it's not Dia as in my dear darling. No,
that's what I thought it was. This is for Dia. Oh my God.
I don't know, in Spanish,
And you used all the heavy words. You're like, diablos, msatanyoko.
Oh, you didn't catch the third one. It's diablos, msatanyoko, muroi.
Oh my God, my chest. Like, that hit hard. I'm almost scared to do this episode now because of this. Ooh,
in Spanish, it's El Diablo. This is where diablos comes from. This is the devil. So we're talking about the devil. So I'll just call him Dia for short. But not Dia is my dear. Dia is in Diablo, the devil.
I am scared. But, okay, so this is about Ada and Dia, right?
Yeah.
And the second reason why the podcast is popular is there are real life lessons that people are going to learn from the story you're going to share today. So, what would you like people to learn from what you're going to share?
Well, some of them are going to sound so cliche, but it's the truth,
Yeah.
100%, at least, so many episodes always say, trust your instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Just
so
trust
that's your
gut.
first one?
Yeah, that's my first one.
Right.
My second one is live your life and don't make sacrifices for no one.
Really?
100%.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Number 3?
So this one sort of ties into the next, which is, I know like a lot of your listeners are probably, do speak Shona, but some don't. So you can translate for them, Kurera imbwane mkaka mangwana inofuma ya kuruma.
Did I tell you that Sumo and Madimikira were my worst things when I did grade 7 in Form 2 Shona?
Even me. But now my Shona is now just spectacular. But back then I didn't.
but what I think that basically says is, okay, you know how they say don't bite the hand that feeds you?
Exactly, yeah.
This is almost the flip of that, to say that, when the hand that feeds you, no, what?
Don't be feeding nobody. People are gonna bite that hand off.
Yeah, let's say it that way.
Feed yourself. Okay. Don't feed no one. I'm telling you.
Wow. Okay. Have you got a fourth?
Yeah, and this one is kids. I'll just say kids. A, don't have kids till you're ready. B, babies don't fix shit. Don't be having babies to fix anything. And also, don't stay in a toxic relationship for the sake of the kids.
That is deep, That's really, really deep. Have you got more for me?
Yeah, some of them will just come up because I'm sure I can tell you 1,000 things.
Mud. So I'll just play those back. Lesson number 1, trust your instinct. Just trust your gut, period. Lesson number 2, live your life and don't make sacrifices for anyone. Number 3, I'm sorry if you don't understand, Shona, but we'll try to explain it. Just go back a few steps. And it says, and then lesson number 4, kids, ... Don't have them till you're ready. Babies don't fix shit. And don't stay in a toxic relationship for the sake of the kids. That is powerful. So I really want to get into this because I'm quite hyped already, just because the name of the name you've given and the lessons. So let's get straight into it, Ada. Where did you meet Dia, and why did you feel, this is the guy for me?
Okay, so I met Dia literally about 20 years ago now. And I know that's literally longer than some of, older than some of your listeners. But yeah, 20 years ago, I met him. And it was the summer, actually, 19 years ago. It was the summer of 2004. I was still in high school back home in Zimbabwe. And I was in boarding school. And it just so happened to be weekend at the hostel. And you're just running around, doing your errands, getting things from the laundry room, whatever it is. And I just saw him like he was a visitor at the hostel. I don't know if he was visiting, but he just, he came. And I just looked at him and I just felt this deja vu feeling, like, this strange feeling. Definitely not love at first sight, but it was just a strange feeling like, something there. But like literally nothing happened on that day. Just noticed him and just moved forward. And then the second time I met him again was at the hostel. Our hostel was throwing this disco. We'd be having like discos at the hostel, and he happens to be the guy who was bringing the speaker. He was bringing the speaker for the hostel. He came with his friend who was one of my classmates as well. And so I was just like, yeah.
So what this means for me is this guy had already finished school.
No, he was at a different school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was at a different school.
Right.
And when he came the second time, oh my gosh, Tinto, again, your Gen Z won't know label ends Sean John. Yeah,
Yes.
P. Diddy.
Yeah, Sean John, yes.
Yeah, he was wearing this matching denim jacket and jeans, naked blue faded washout. He was wearing these blue Timberlands. I was just like, oh my God, what is Omarion doing here?
Hey!
I was just like, this guy. That was a fashion at the time, he just looked peng. I'm telling you, it was a 10 out of 10. I was like, I know this guy is good looking. And I really just, sort of drew towards him. And I kept on going to the speaker because he was sort of DJing for our disco. And I was just trying to get his attention. But what I didn't know at the time was the friend he came with was there to sort of hook him up with some other girl. So I lost my chance. He was actually, he came there with an agenda. He was supposed to be going out with this other girl.
Yeah.
So again, that was our second meeting. Nothing came out of it because, like I said, he ended up going out with this other girl. And fast forward the next year, 2005, I'm starting my A-levels at a new school. And who's in my class? None other than Dia.
No way.
I'm telling you.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, oh my gosh, not you. So yeah, me and Dia end up in the same class and we're doing our A-levels at another school. And I liked him, but the thing is, he bullied me. And I don't know what it is with guys. Sometimes if they like a girl, they can't tell her straight up. They end up just being mean to her. This childish way of doing things.
It's because they can't deal with the emotions, so they think the best way of suppressing them is to suppress the actual individual.
Yeah. So he was actually quite mean to me, and I ended up actually just hating him. I think for the first 3 weeks, he'd literally just be saying, because I've always been this plus size girl. And so I'd be like going to the toilet with my friend and be like, oh yeah, Ada, make sure you don't break the toilet when you go there. I just roll my eyes. I'm like, this guy, honestly, like, what is wrong with you? He just wanted to humiliate me, and I just did not like him at all. But eventually he just, comes out with it, and he's just like, you know what? I like you. I was like, that's a funny way of showing it, but you know what? Fine. I like you too, type of thing. And yeah, so from the moment he asked me out, we were inseparable. I'm telling you, it was such an intense relationship. I was 17 at the time, and he was 18. And we were kids, really, but it was such an intense relationship from the get-go. So much so, we're so inseparable. We'd be like, everywhere together. We're in the same class. And then if we're not at school, we're taking walks around the hood where we lived, and going into the tuck shops. We'd be buying boiled eggs. We just loved food. We just loved spending time together. It wasn't even anything special, literally boiled eggs from tuck shops, and you sprinkle your little salt in your little newspaper, and you're walking around the hood just talking stories and just enjoying each other's company. And I lost my virginity to him. We both lost our virginity to each other. And as teenagers, that's something that bonds you, because you're just like, okay, right, so this guy's the one who's going to have to marry me because, I've lost my virginity to you. So the first year, I'd say 2005, things were good. It was, kids falling in love, that puppy love. Everything is just so special. Your first kiss, your first sexual experience, your first everything, it was intense, to say the least. So 2006, I become the head girl of the school. And the teachers are just like, Ada and Dia, you guys, your relationship is just too much.
It's too intense, yeah.
It's too intense. You guys are kids. You're, if you're not at school, you're in town together and you're wearing the uniform. Everyone, because we lived in such a small town, everyone knew everyone. And they're like, you need to calm down a bit. And then you just think anyone who says anything negative, it's just a hater. That's not the definition of a hater.
Yeah.
I just say, everyone hates us. Everyone's just hating on us, blah, blah, blah. So we just did not listen to anyone. We just carried on as is. And but he became such a jealous person as well, very possessive. And because when you're a kid, you don't actually know, I actually liked that about him, which is the sad thing. I just felt like, this guy must really love me then. He doesn't want me to talk to any other guy. He doesn't want me to dress a certain way. He must really love me. So again, 2006 became just a little bit, that's when the red flag started. And it was strange, but also because I was such a confused person, I just put a lot of it. I was like, okay, it's just because he loves me. It's because he loves me. Everything he did, I just thought he must love me that much.
What were you confused about?
Because, oh yes, I think that's another thing I forgot about my lessons. My lesson, one of my lessons is everybody needs therapy.
Okay.
I think all of us have deep childhood traumas, and you can't be getting into a relationship before you know yourself and and you've healed from that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm someone who, like I said, I don't want to digress too much, but just briefly, I'm someone who grew up with deep abandonment, rejection issues, and I felt unloved my whole life. So I felt like this is the first person who's ever loved me. So whatever he did, I just said, I need to hold on to the fact that he loves me because no one else loves me. No one else wants me. No, So whatever he did, there were bad things that he did, but I put up with anything because for me, this guy loved me and he was my everything.
Not to derail you too much, but you said there's a lot of bad things he did. What bad things did he do?
Like I said, so I lived in boarding, but he lived at his own house. So I was at another hostel and he lived at his own house. So he'd just be calling me nonstop. And there was a time there was a party and he told me that I had to dress a certain way and that if I talked to anyone else at that party, he was going to lose it. So he kept on calling me just like 30 minutes before the party, just reminding me about what he said. And it's like, what are you wearing? If you talk to anyone, you're going to see what I'll do, stuff like that, And then at the party, I could not talk to anyone else but stand by his side. It was one of those things. And then in 2006, something happened. I got pregnant.
Right.
And I am an 18-year-old head girl of a school, pregnant. And I didn't know how to deal with that. Because these teachers have been telling you from day one that you guys are too intense. And I was like, this is going to be the biggest embarrassment for the school, for me, for my, for my family, for everyone involved. I was so stressed. I didn't know what to do. I told him, but he really supported me through it. We're like, okay, what are we going to do? But in the end, unfortunately, I had a miscarriage. Well, at that time, I was like, okay, it's fortunately, but unfortunately at the same time. But so it was such an intense, only him and me and him knew what was happening. And I think that incident bonded us even closer, like the ties that bind. It was one of those things that, really glued us together. So despite all the bad things that were happening, it was, him and me, Dia and Ada against the world, will do anything, everything together. But, his issues kept on worsening. Like it just, there was a time basically we were walking from school and then there was another girl walking in front of us and she just turned around and said, oh, Dia, can you get me a chocolate? And I was just like, what the heck? What's wrong with this girl asking my boyfriend to buy her a chocolate? So I'm thinking he's going to put her in line. But do you know what he does? He says to me, Ada, can you lend me some money so I can buy this girl a chocolate? I'm like, bro, you've not even bought me a chocolate and you're asking me to give you money to buy another girl chocolate. Like, in what world is that? Does that even make sense?
Mad.
So, and then, so another incident, another girl in my class, we're just talking about, good-looking guys in the school and doing a list, as you do. And me and this girl are talking and she says, oh yeah, I'd definitely put Dia as the best looking guy in the school. Then I'll put this guy, then this guy, then that guy. And I was like, oh, that's nice. So I go to Dia and I'm like, oh, guess what? Let's just call her Anna. I was like, guess what Anna was saying? Anna said, she thinks you're the best looking guy in the school. Then Dia says to me, so I had a chance with Anna. Oh my gosh.
Dia.
I'm like, this guy has no respect.
Jeez, yeah.
You literally say that to my face. And then there were little things that kept on happening like this. And I just, in the end, I was thinking to myself, nah, I'm done with this. And for some reason, there was another guy who was slightly old, I think early 20s, was interested in me. And he was sort of asking me out. And I was like, you know what? Let me be done with Blazer Boys. I don't know if you know what Blazer Boys are.
What are Blazer Boys?
Blazer Boys, school kids, when you're in school, you're still wearing your blazers. So I'm just like, I don't want to be going out with school kids anymore. Let me be going out with real men.
Oh, yeah.
So, So I say to, Dia, I'm sorry, but it's over. I broke up with him. So, but what had happened was the holiday before that, school holidays before that, because he used to come to my house when I was at home, away from the hostel. I was living with a relative, and there was a rat problem. I don't know, these guys, and some of these things are like location problems.
Yeah.
Trying to look my location. But anyway, so this relative of mine, there were rats in the house. So she sends me to town. She's like, can you get rat poison? Because obviously we need to deal with this rat problem. So I was still with Dia at the time. So we'd gone into town, and then on our way back, we got the rat poison. But I didn't have a handbag or anything. So I was like, oh, can you carry this? Because I'm not going to walk around, with a little packet of rat poison in my hand. So he had his wallet on him. So it was just a tiny little wallet, tiny little plastic with rat poison.
Yeah.
So he put it in his wallet. But by the time we got back home, we completely forgot about it. And it was just in his wallet for such a long time. Completely forgot about that rat poison. So this is now, we fast forwarded the time I'm breaking up with him. So I say to him, Dia, it's over. And then he's like, oh, okay, you're going to see. You're going to see, and you're going to regret this. I'm like, whatever. I didn't even think of anything, Tinto. Nothing came to me at all. I was just like, whatever. I went my way. He went his way. The next day, all hell broke loose because when Dia got home, he took rat poison. That rat poison that was in his wallet, he took it and tried to kill himself.
No.
I'm telling you. And he had locked himself in a toilet. That had to get a little boy to go through the window to unlock the door. And then they took him to hospital where he had to do whatever, resuscitation, whatever they had to do, pump his stomach. And he didn't die, thank God. However, that story, Tinto, was so twisted by the people in this small town that I had to take this nigger back. What they started saying was, Ada bought rat poison, gave it to Dia and told him, if you love me, drink this. Like, bullshit. That's not even what happened.
I mean,
how people twist stories? Like, who does that?
But why would you twist a story in such a twisted way?
It was so horrible. I was like, doesn't make sense. But, because this whole issue that I had, which is true, I had bought that rat poison, but what I bought it for was for the purpose rat poison is for. And it just so happened that, he ended up carrying it. We completely forgot about it. And they even started, so as soon as he woke up, he just wanted to talk to me. He was writing letters, please take me back. I cannot live without you. And everyone was just, like, oh, Dia almost died because of you. Dia almost died because of you. What type of person are you? And the teachers, imagine a teacher at my school asked me, she's like, Ada, what did you give Dia? What did you do to this guy to make him want to die? This is not normal, teenage love. If you've given him something, you need to tell us. I'm like, something like what? They're suggesting that I've given him, this Zimbabwean mentality. They're thinking I've given him some type of love potion, some type of mufuira to make him. I'm just like, what is that? Honestly, like, why would I ever do that? So in the end, with all this pressure from all sides and him as well, and, because I just wanted him to tell the truth, that I did not give him rat poison to kill himself. I just found him, I felt forced to reconcile with him because there was just so much pressure on an 18-year-old child, dealing with someone's suicide attempt, dealing with all these rumors circulating around the small town, dealing with so much hate and resentment from his family. His sister was such a bitch. She used to be my friend. But at that point, she's the one who's like, oh, Ada is worse than the devil. She's a murderer. She just tried to kill my brother, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, oh my gosh, okay. Let me just reconcile with him. That way this story can just die down. That was the biggest mistake of my life. I reconciled with him in 2006. We finished our A-levels. 2007, I moved abroad. Okay, I'll say to Canada. So I've moved to Canada. He's in a Zim and we're in a long-distance relationship. And things were not great, but I felt tied down to him because, again, my teenage mind decided that if this guy was willing to die for me, I have to be willing to die for him too. In the sense, like, I have to do anything and everything for him because this guy almost died because of me.
So as far as you're concerned, you're convinced he really almost died because of you.
Yes, that's what that's what everyone made me feel. They made me feel like, what have you done to him to make him feel this way?
So you now accepted that as reality and truth.
Exactly. So it's my fault. I shouldn't have broken up with him. I should not have, I should have just been his girlfriend because he loves me so much. He cannot live without me. So I am going to just not live without him either. So here I am in Canada in 2007. Where my lesson of don't sacrifice anything for don't sacrifice nothing for no one. I'd always wanted to go down a certain career path since day one. Since the time I knew about this career, I knew this is what I wanted to be. But looking at the logistics of, okay, when I'm now in this new country, how do I get him here? It drove me down a completely different career path. So I sacrificed my goals, my ambition, my dreams to accommodate him. So I ended up enrolling in uni for a different course. And because this course, it gave you some money at the same time, like a bursary when you're studying. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
So that would have enabled you to get him to come and join you?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, but while I'm doing that and I'm working part-time, and the only jobs I can sort of get alongside this course I'm doing at uni are like cleaning jobs. And I was cleaning in a shopping mall. And I always happen to be assigned the toilets. And I'm like cleaning toilets for this guy, sending him money to Zimbabwe, sending him clothes, and just being the most. I'm only 19, but I'm so not even looking at any other guys. I just want him. I just want to bring him here as soon as possible. And this is back in the days of High Five.
Mud.
If people know what High Five is.
I'm gonna try and see if I can still log into my High Five account now as I'm talking to you.
Does it even exist? I don't think so.
I don't know. Let me give it a shot. Hang on, give me 1 sec. Yeah, no. I don't think it does. No.
Yeah. So on High Five, I started getting troll message. Well, fake accounts basically. Sending me messages that, oh yeah, do you know that Dia is cheating on you with so-and-so? And I'm just like, bullshit. Not Dia. Not the Dia who almost died for me. He would not cheat. So I was convinced that, this one incident, this guy is now my man. He will never cheat. He can't live without me. He would rather die than not have me in his life. So there's no way he's cheating. So I ignored that. I didn't even react. So 2008, we're just talking like, okay, so how are we going to get together? We need to get married. So it was never a time of like, oh yeah, you never proposed to me in that sense. It was a discussion of how best do we get you here? So we need to get married, and we need to get married as soon as possible. So obviously in Zim, you have to do the whole Lobola thing. So January 2008, my whole family is gathered for him to pay Lobola. The day before, a girl called a girl B, let's just call her, I don't know, Betty.
Yeah.
Betty finally confirms that all those cheating rumors on High Five, she's the one who's sending the messages, basically, because she is his girlfriend.
Oh.
And I know this girl because, she was my junior. She was in lower six when I was in upper six. So I know her. I know her so much that there was actually a day when I was still in upper six as the head girl. I was called to her class because I needed to take her to the office because she was not feeling well. So I needed to escort her to the office. And it then so happened that the reason that she needed to be escorted to the office and why she was off school for a month is because she was pregnant and she'd then gone home and had an abortion.
Oh, dear.
So now she's telling me that, yeah, actually, that time you took me to the office is because I was pregnant by Dia.
Ah.
And I've been his girlfriend. We celebrated our anniversary on such and such a month. I'm like, what? So you guys were busy, when I was still there, because at first I was thinking, okay, I'm in a long distance relationship with him. I'm already making excuses for him. I'm like, okay, he's probably cheating because, we're in a long distance relationship. But no, she's confirming that, no, they've been together since I was still in Zim. And, that she even got pregnant by him and all that. And this is the day before he's supposed to go and pay Lobola.
Crazy.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, is this for real? And obviously I confronted him. At first he denied it. And then he admitted it. He's like, you know what? It's not, I don't love her. It's only you I love. It's only you I want to be with. And again, I made the mistake of caring too much what people thought, because I was like, my family are just going to, you know, be like, what is this? You've gathered grown men to, you know, accept your lobola, and then you're actually not even going through with it. So I couldn't even tell anyone, because everyone had been opposed to me getting married. I was 20 now. Everyone was already opposed to me getting married at the age of 20. 20-year-old is a child. A 20-year-old has no business getting married.
So this would have been the perfect opportunity not to get married.
Exactly. But I don't know what was wrong with me thinking that, well, they've now accepted it and they've now gathered and they're, you know, willing to go ahead with my wishes. There's no way I can now start saying, actually, you guys were right. Let me just cancel this. So he sends me messages. He's talking to me on the phone the whole night. He's begging. He's like, please, Ada, just forgive me. Please, I'll spend the rest of my life showing you how much I love you and how this was a big mistake. She was just there. She was available, blah, blah, blah. And again, I just swept this under the carpet. I had a real problem with sweeping things under the carpet and facing them head on. So I was just like, you know what? Fine, let's go ahead with it. So he pays the lobola. I go back to Zim 2008 in August. We get married. And now I come back and we have to sort out his visa. So the visa thing, again, I had to make another sacrifice. You needed to earn a certain amount of, you know, of dollars before you can qualify for a spousal visa. So I had to quit uni. So I'm already doing a course I don't want to do anyway for him. But now I'm actually having to quit that course so I can work full time to earn the amount of money that's required for the visa. So again, I made another sacrifice. I quit uni. Again, I'm sending him money. And even, you know, when this whole Betty issue came out, the photos that I was seeing, he was wearing the clothes I'd been sending him to obviously take her out, take her to all these lodges and all those places. The money I was sending him. Here I am, Tinto, cleaning toilets in shopping malls. And you know how disgusting those toilets are. You know, people just have no shame.
Yeah.
And I'm cleaning those toilets to send you money for you to take other girls out, you know, wearing clothes that I'm buying you. This is where I'm telling you that you're feeding this dog and this dog is going to bite you tomorrow.
I see what you mean.
So I'm making all these sacrifices for this guy who just has no shame. He's got no shame at all. But anyway, so I've already, you know, swept this whole Betty thing under the carpet and I'm working hard. And despite everything, all the odds against us, you know, people kept on telling me that, oh, you guys are only 20. We've been trying to apply for spousal visa for the last 5 years. We never got it. So there's no way you're getting it.
Yeah.
As first time around, I made sure everything was in order. He got his visa.
Just like that.
Just like that, straightforward. It was a 7-day turnaround. He got his visa and he joined me in Canada. So, we're happy, you know, we're so excited to be starting life as husband and wife. We're now, you know, in this new country. It's a new start. He's away from Betty. This whole thing, you know, it's a new chapter in our lives. So, once we move, again, you know, he is who he is and he can't hide it. And I think things that, you know, were not at his advantage were, you know, in Zim, at that time, you probably don't have computers at home at that time. So the only time you're using the internet is if you're using like, what are these things, internet cafes? Yeah, and stuff like that. So you're not really going to be the most computer literate person. And this is what was, you know, what he was. He'd forget to delete his browsing history.
Right.
So I'd be at work, you know, working these minimal jobs, just trying to make us survive. We need to pay rent. We need to pay bills. We're 21-year-old children, really, trying to live this grown life. But we're trying to, you know, I'm trying my best anyway. I'm working hard. So when I'm working night shifts, he's at home, opening up accounts with Pornhub. I mean, you know, to be honest, I'm not even upset about the Pornhub thing because everyone watches porn. Well, many people watch porn. It's not my issue. My issue was he'd have specific accounts. Like there was this one called Sex in Your City. He was logging in on that one and he called himself, I don't know, what's your listener age? Is this R18? Because some of the...
Yeah, no, it's cool. Go for it.
Yeah. So some of them, one of them, he calls himself Mboro Wuru.
Ah.
So that is his username on Sex in Your City, Mboro Wuru. And his profile would read, 22-year-old black male looking for white and Asian pussy to fuck in Toronto, for example.
What?
So this is no longer about watching porn. This is intentionally seeking white and Asian pussy. And he literally writes, I've only fucked black pussy and I'm looking for white and Asian pussy to fuck.
Unbelievable.
I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Then obviously I confront him. He's like, oh, no. I was just bored. I was just checking it out. I'm like, no, there's a difference between watching porn and actually putting your intent out there that this is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, I'm just now starting to struggle. I'm starting to regret it. But I'm also still a child. So what does a child do? So now we've moved from High Five to Facebook by this time.
Mm-hmm.
Me being me, a child, I then start going on my Facebook profile and my status at the time. Oh, I'm done with this shit. Juices to you, dear. You know, I'd be posting shit, you know, I was such a child, honestly. I'd be publishing all my all this rubbish that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. And then you delete it tomorrow because tomorrow we've made up, we're back together again. He said he's sorry. So you know what? It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep on finding stuff. So he's deleted the Mboro Wuru account. He's now opened another one. But because he's still so dumb with the internet, he just, somehow I always catch him out. Or sometimes he'll even use my email address because he's trying to register a new account. And then not knowing that it's going to send me an email that,
oh my gosh, yeah.
He was just so dumb at the beginning. But you know what? He learned his lesson and he started to learn how to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move forward to 2010. He used to have a BlackBerry. I don't know if you remember BlackBerries.
Of course. I had a BlackBerry Curve. I've forgotten the model number, but it was a Curve.
Man, he had a Curve too.
That period in my life, 2008 till about 2010, if any one of my group of friends, there was about 6 of us in this group, you know how you needed to exchange BlackBerry pins.
Yeah.
And then if you get somebody's BB pin, you could have a group. That group to this day remains the most fun I ever had in my life.
Really?
Yeah. Easily. I mean, and we're all still really good friends.
Yeah.
Stemming from that. So I remember BlackBerry Messenger days. Yeah.
Well, for me, BlackBerry is not a good experience because he had a BlackBerry Curve, and again he swapped BlackBerry BB pins with someone, but then it was written Nathan. So one day we're traveling, and then the message comes in from Nathan, and it says, "I love you too." And I'm like, what? This guy is gay.
Eish.
Am I dealing with a gay husband? Nothing against homosexuals. It's I've got nothing against that, but I was not trying to be married to a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I flipped out. I'm like, what is this? I said, stop the car. You need to stop the car right now, dear. Why is Nathan saying, I love you? So I couldn't actually work out how to use a BlackBerry because the messages are sort of hidden. So I could only see that message and I was trying to trace it back. I was just not a BlackBerry person, so I had no idea. Then he's like, oh, no, we're just, good friends like that. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. I don't know any guy friends who tell each other I love you too. And, this does not sound like a friendship. If you are gay, are you gay? I don't know if you've seen that. I mean, why are you gay?
That's what I was saying to myself in my head.
Why are you
gay? In fact, the first thing he says is, you are gay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of those moments. I'm like,
okay, yeah.
So finally, I managed to sort of open up the messages, and this Nathan is not actually a Nathan, it's a Nikki. And this Nikki is not even this Nikki is like a 45-year-old white woman from his work who just looks like the oldest of the oldest. Nothing against white women or anything, but I'm just trying to describe her. She was just not even basic. She was just something else because I had seen her before. She was just,
Are you sure you're not describing it out of hate? Because, that sounds quite strong, eh?
No. This is not even out of hate. I'm telling you, I couldn't even believe it myself. I was just like, are you cheating? The person you're cheating on me with looks like a grandma. And, she's really not someone who looked after herself, doesn't look like someone who particularly baths, she's, a chain smoker, one of those. I'm just like, so this is your type.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I can see the messages, 12 messages saying, oh, you deserve better than me. I don't deserve you. I'm like, what is going on here? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. We're just having, when we first moved here to Toronto, I was struggling, and she just comforted me. She was there for me. And she's just my friend. I'm just like, a friend who you guys tell each other you love each other, a friend who you say there's Nathan, a friend who it's just, this is not appropriate.
How old was he at this point?
So this is 2010. He would be 24.
Wow.
24, 25. We were kids. And that's another thing I told you, don't get married young. Just enjoy your life, live your life. We were really kids. So some of these issues were just due to immaturity, but, we made the choices and we were married at the time. We should not have been having those kind of relationships. So again, he, comes up with an excuse. He gets people involved. Someone from his work, his friend calls me. He's like, oh, no, definitely there's nothing going on between him and Nikki. This is nothing. They're just friends. And again, because I don't want to rock the boat, I keep sweeping things under the carpet because I just don't want to deal with the possibility that this is the biggest mistake of my life. And I just carry on. Next thing, I'm seeing messages on Facebook Messenger. This woman from his work, again, a Polish girl.
Hey. Hey.
She recently just left, and she'd gone back to Poland. And he had sent her a message saying, oh, let's call her, I don't know, Dixie. Oh, Dixie, I miss you so much. When are you coming to see me? I can send you money so you can travel to see me. I'm like, again, it was so many things like this. I kept on sweeping under the carpet. I could not deal with it. You'd always have an excuse for it, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's move forward.
Interestingly enough, this is not the first time another woman has been in the picture. So there's the one who fell pregnant. There's the one at work. There's this one at work. And at some point before the Rora, you were debating not going ahead because you felt, this is not right.
Yeah.
In your head at this point, why were you still continuing? Is it because you were so deeply in love, or you're more worried about what people may think? Because
exactly. For me, it was definitely that. I was worried about, the fact that I defied my mom even. My mom said, do not get married. She refused for me to get married. And I just wanted to prove everyone wrong who told me, don't do this. And like I've said, I've always felt abandoned and rejected and not loved. So I felt like this would be another failure. This will be, again, me being abandoned or being rejected or just not lovable. So let me just fight through this. We will get to, that point where this is a fairy tale or a dream that, that perfect life that I want for myself. And I want to be loved, and I want to have something I actually value and know that someone out there can love me, truly. So I'm telling you, we're talking about the fourth girl here. They're 20. We're going to get to woman 20. So
you gotta be joking.
I'm telling you, I was I don't know, there was something seriously wrong.
And you were still in the picture by the time you got to woman 20?
I am telling you, Tinto, I should have had therapy in my teens. That way I would have just figured out, I would have just avoided 20 years of trauma, 20 years of hell, 20 years of torture with the devil called Diablos.
Yeah, I think I'll ask you a couple of questions as we go on, because that's a bombshell I did not expect to hear.
Yeah, my therapist also has many questions for me. So, yeah, that was...
So the Polish woman, they're having this conversation, pay for you, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens?
So he just tells me, please, this is nothing. She was just a friend at work. And I actually don't know when I started to lose myself, because at some point I did. I really did. When I found things out, I just acted like they were not there, because now the pain, because this was all painful. The first time you find out, you cry, you run, you tell one or two friends, and you're sure you're done with it, but you also feel like, no, we've not given it a chance. we're still early in this marriage. I can do harder. I can try harder. I can do better. So it was one of those. And his stories even became more and more ridiculous. Like there was a time he'd be like, oh, I'm going to work on a Saturday. He worked Monday to Friday, but on Saturday, like, I have to go to work. I've had a call from the alarm company. Apparently there's a cat in the building. And because I hold the keys to that building, I have to go into work. Oh, the cat is in the building again, so I have to. I'm like, this is midnight. The cat has set off the alarm.
You know, I'm only laughing because in my head I'm thinking about what you could call a cat. Sometimes cats are called pussies. Do you get what I'm saying?
I should have known.
So Mandem was telling you what he was going for.
Exactly.
Except he was using a smarter word. He was calling it a cat.
Imagine.
Mad.
I'm telling you. So the one time he runs to, obviously give the alarm man the keys to the building, he forgets his phone. So as soon as he leaves, the phone starts ringing. And I answer it and there's no answer. There's no one on the other end of the phone. I'm like, hello. And the person doesn't answer. So I save the number into my phone, save it, and then on WhatsApp, it immediately shows the person's profile picture. It's another girl.
Mad.
So this is now girl Emily.
So this is girl number 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he comes back. Obviously, he realizes that he forgot his phone at home. Comes back quickly, and I'm like, "Who is this?" He's like, "Oh no, I don't know who that is." Is refusing, doesn't know. And then she answers and says, "Oh yeah, my name is Emily. Oh, I work with Dia." I'm like, "So who is this?" "Oh, we're just friends. We just work together." "So why are you calling him at this time?" At that time, I actually packed my bags and I went to a different city to visit some family. And then I was just like, I'm done with this. I can't. This is now the 5th girl, in the picture. I'm not doing this anymore, dear. And he even comes with me to the train station and he's saying, please don't leave. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm going. So I get on the train and I go. And unfortunately, well, I don't know, whichever way, I find out I'm pregnant.
I lost you there for a sec. So just pick it back from unfortunately, I don't know how you perceived it, and then just say that again and continue.
Yeah, so I've visited family in another part of the country. And I find out that I'm pregnant. Because now this is the first step I've actually made to leave this guy. But here I am pregnant. I'm like, oh crap. I really do want to leave this guy because I've now finally opened up to someone who happened to be my cousin. I'm just like, you know what? This is what's been happening. Because I have kept all this to myself because I just didn't want people to know. Because I always felt like people would just say, what? Something is actually wrong with you then. How come it's always you? Because like I've said, this childhood trauma is for me for abandonment. Briefly, like from the time I was 4 months old, my mom gave me to someone else.
Right.
To another relative, and then that relative gave me to another relative, and then my mom relocated to Canada, and then I was passed from one aunt to another aunt, from another aunt to boarding school, from another boarding school to a grandma. So I always felt like no one really loved me, no one really wanted me. They always had something to say. Okay. So I just wanted to prove that I am lovable. This guy does love me, and we're living this happy life. So my cousin's like, no, you need to leave this. But again, like I said, I find out I'm pregnant and I'm just like, I can't. Because another thing with me is I actually never knew my dad. I grew up without a dad. And that's one thing I always wanted is just, I lacked that father figure. I just wanted it so badly. And there's no way in hell I'm going to have a baby who's going to go through that whole experience of not knowing their dad. Yeah. So what do? I go back straight to Dia when I find out that I'm pregnant.
Okay.
Because I'm like, no, now I have to make it work. Because we have to be this perfect family. We need to have a mom, we need to have a dad and a baby. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. This child does not need to not have a dad like I did. That was my mentality at the time. So when I go back, I'm thinking this guy's missed me. I've been away for like a week and a half. But on the satellite bill, which is in my name, it shows all these porn things that he bought, basically. So he's not even been missing me. He's just been buying these, extra services, these premium services to watch women masturbate and whatever it is. So I'm just like, oh crap. But you know what? We're having a baby. So we can get past this. That's what I'm thinking. So I have the baby. I finished the course I was doing, and things were just not great. But we decided to move to a new part of the country, so we relocate. And when we relocate, I'm like, this is a fresh start. Okay, there's no more Emily in the picture. There's no more Dixie. There's no Nikki. There's no whoever. All these women that were in Toronto, they're all out of the picture now. So we're starting afresh. So we're now in 2015. Okay, so I'm thinking things are going to be good now. We've got a house. I'm working. Financially, we're in a better place. So, but he just decided to start hiding his phone from nowhere, because before his phone would just be charging there and you'd leave it. But now this guy used to shower with his phone, go to the toilet with his phone. He always had his phone with him. And I knew this must mean something, but you know what? I'm like, whatever. We've got our baby now. We've got a 2-year-old girl. And we're just carrying on with life. I'm working hard. He's doing whatever he's doing. And again, he decides that, you know what? I'm not going to work. I want to study. I want to pursue my dream. My dream is to be, whatever career he chose to do at the time. He's like, I'm not going to be able to work. I'm like, that's fine. You know what? You do what you need to do. Follow your goals. I'm working, so at least I can hold us down financially while you study. And then he tells me, when I finish my course, I'm going to be earning, let's say, 50,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's not bad. Yeah. I'm like, that's not bad. It's a start. So for 3 years straight, I'm working around the clock, night shifts after night shifts, because I need to support us. He's not working. He's just studying. Do you know, from the day he finished that course, he's never worked any job in that, industry that he was studying for. For him, he was able to just quit work and do whatever he wanted for 3 years, because I was, the hand that was feeding him. He actually used to keep my card. So sometimes I'd need to ask him, can I have the card? I need to go and buy groceries.
Way.
I'm telling you, I was the one working, but I didn't see a problem with that, because I am trying to be this wife who supports her husband to follow his dreams, to follow his goals. Yeah. He's going to be working afterwards. We're going to be fine. So I just, I put up with a lot. So my daughter is now 4 years old. I'm coming from a night shift one day, and she's like, oh, hi, Mommy. We're talking, says, oh, Auntie Rachel gave me this. I'm like, Auntie Rachel? Who is Auntie Rachel? She's like, oh, we went to Auntie Rachel's house yesterday when you were at work. I'm like, huh? Okay. And what happened? She says, oh, Auntie Rachel gave me some coloring. I was coloring downstairs, and her and Daddy had to go upstairs and work.
And how old was your baby?
She was 4.
Wow.
She was a 4-year-old innocently telling Mommy
oh my God,
how a day went yesterday.
Yeah.
I lost it. I just took all the black bins I could find. I stuffed all his clothes in there and I threw them out. I can't remember where he was at the time.
Yeah.
And when he came back, he finds all his stuff in black bags outside, and he's like, what's happening here? I'm like, oh, no, why don't you just take this and move to Auntie Rachel's house? He's like, who's that? I'm like, no, please don't make our daughter out to be a liar. She told me that you were at Auntie Rachel's house yesterday. He's like, oh, no, you know Auntie Rachel. I'm like, who's Auntie Rachel? He's like, oh, you know my friend Peter, for example. Yeah, Rachel is Peter's wife. I'm like, no, are you forgetting that I met Peter's wife? Peter's wife is called Amy. I'm like, bro, you are lying. You are lying. So he denied it. He tried to deny it. But I was just like, no, I'm not having it. Kicked him out, and then ended up finding out Auntie Rachel was, I've always been asking for Asian pussy to fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, Auntie Rachel was one of that Asian pussy to fuck that he was having. So that's who Auntie Rachel was. She was another 40-something-year-old woman that he was working with, and obviously, and then I actually found his bank statement. Auntie Rachel had also given him some money, quite a significant amount of money in his account. And the day I confronted him about that, he blocked his bank statements from coming to the house.
So that they get so that they don't get delivered at all, or they get delivered elsewhere.
They don't get. He gets them delivered. I know you can do it online now, can't you? So you just you don't receive any paper copies, and then he changed all the login details of his bank accounts because I was now able to trace hotel payments. So he's paid for a hotel room somewhere because I'd never gone through his bank statement because to be honest, it's always been me financially. It's my card that we use to cover all the bills. So I've never actually looked at his bank statements. So when I looked at his bank statements, I'm starting to see all these, questionable transactions, shall I say. So, that was Auntie Rachel who caused our separation. So I've got my 4-year-old daughter. I've got a really good job and he's moved out. And I'm happy for the first time in a long time. I'm actually quite happy. But the problem is my 4-year-old is asking for her daddy on a daily basis. Where's daddy? Please, I want to see daddy. I want to see daddy. Because they were quite close. Like I've said, I've been the one working nonstop while he's been at home. Either, if he's not studying, he's with our baby. And, they're very, very close. In fact, they were closer at that time. Daddy and daughter, they were really close than I was with my daughter. So she really struggled. That separation lasted all of 4 months. Because for 4 months on a daily basis, she begged to see her dad.
No way.
And I say to myself, remember, you grew up without your dad. Yeah. You can't do this to your daughter as well.
Yeah.
So there I am again, reconciling with this devil. And I'm just thinking like, you know what? Our daughter is 5 now and she's missed her dad. We've reconciled, and then he's like, she needs a sibling. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So literally like 2 days after we're reconciling, we're already trying for baby number 2. This is why I said babies, don't be having babies for nothing.
Okay. So wait a minute. You say we are trying for baby number 2 at this point, and this is at whose beckoning and call? Whose suggestion was that for baby number 2?
He mentioned it. I mean, because we have a 5-year-old now, and I didn't want to have any more kids at the time. But because he's mentioned that, I'm the one who always says, I don't have another child. He's like, she needs a sibling and, she's lonely and all that. And if we're trying to fix the family, we need to have more kids. So, but babies don't fix anything.
But at that point, did you think babies do fix stuff?
I thought so, because I was just like, we've had this real disconnect in the last year. We've been separated for 4 months. And he's back, and I want this perfect family. You know how you said Ada is the first daughter, and I was saying to you, that's complicated for me. It is. So I wanted, a family of mom, dad, and 2.4 kids or whatever, that perfect thing. So I was like, okay, fine, let's have this baby. And I found myself pregnant 2017 with our second child. And that's when things were actually worsening. We were actually drifting further and further apart. And he basically was just not there. He started a new job. So this job, it was, how everything is online these days, all these deliveries, everything is, van deliveries. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to go in this delivery business because if I get a few vans and get some drivers, this is a real good market to make money. And I was like, you know what, you're right, because, everyone's got deliveries, 100 deliveries a day. So that's definitely a good market to get into. But the problem with this job is it's not a 9 to 5, He'd be out of the house like at 5 a.m. and he would come back home at midnight at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then he'd be telling me, the van broke down in whatever part of the country, or the other van broke down, or the driver had an accident, or this happened, or that happened. So I could never keep track of him. He was just never there. And I knew that there's definitely something happening here. I knew that for a fact. I remember actually one time he came home and I found some blonde hair on his work t-shirt. I'm like, why is there blonde hair on your t-shirt? And he said to me, he says, you forget that we deliver mattresses. So when we deliver the mattress, we have to take out the old mattress. So I'm sure that hair is from the old mattress that I took out. I'm like, yeah, actually, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, did you actually believe it to make sense, or you being sarcastic?
No, it made sense, Tinto.
Hey, okay. Yeah, okay.
It made sense. I'm just trying to sweep things under the carpet and that makes sense. That's fine. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm not trying to, break anything up. I'm not trying to have my child tell me she misses her dad every day for 4 months. So that makes sense. So, yeah, that 2017, I've got my 3-month-old baby. And it's Christmas, and he says, Christmas deliveries, last minute, they've asked me to deliver on Christmas Day. I'm like, on Christmas Day? I literally spent that Christmas on my own with my 5-year-old and my 3-month-old baby. Christmas on my own, New Year on my own, because he was delivering everywhere. And I don't know how much time you have, Tinto, but like I said, because there are 20 women there. Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, so like I said, I spent Christmas 2017 on my own. New Year, I saw 2018, the New Year in on my own. And I was just starting to feel low. And I was starting to comfort eat. Okay, so remember I told you I've always been plus size, but now this was next level because I was just so sad and lonely. And this guy was, pulling away further and further because he was always, the van has done this, the van has done that. I'm on my own. I'm I'm a mom to another, to 2 kids now. And I'm just trying to do my best. But I find comfort in eating. I'm eating and eating and eating and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm just sad and lonely. And I'm feeling quite low in energy as well. So I just carry on. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't feel very well. I need to go and see the doctor. So doctor does, all these tests and everything. And the doctor tells me, you're pregnant.
Yeah.
No, it's impossible because it's literally impossible. I say, no, I don't think so because, since this whole 2017, I think I slept with him once. And since I've had the baby, that was literally the time. Since I've had this baby, I think I've slept with him once, just accidentally. In the sense that we're no longer connected like that. We didn't sleep in the same bedrooms anymore. So I can pinpoint the time, where we somehow we've ended up sleeping together. So I don't think I could have gotten pregnant because I've also read somewhere that if you're breastfeeding exclusively, that is a form of contraception. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. I'm telling you, because this doctor is telling me I'm pregnant and I've got like a 4-month-old baby. And yes, I think 4 or 5 months at the time, and you're telling me I'm pregnant again to a man I now really have nothing to do with. He's never there.
Okay, but help me understand this, and I genuinely mean this. So you guys are now in separate rooms, and for a fact you really don't want to be with this guy.
Yeah.
How is it that you came about to have sex that one time? Were you feeling so horny you couldn't say no to him anymore?
No, to be honest, I don't even think I felt horny at all. I don't actually remember how it ended up happening. But, sometimes when you've been so rejected and someone suddenly shows a little bit of interest in you again, you just take that. You're literally taking the crumbs. You're taking the crumbs like, okay, I'll take that. It means you still want me. You still find me attractive then. Okay. Like I'm telling you, I'm putting on weight. So I'm finding myself increasingly, less sexy. I'm just, losing confidence. I've lost all self-esteem. So I'll take any crumbs. If you've shown a little bit of interest in me, fine. Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it was literally the one time. And I've got family who just say to me, you're probably the most fertile woman we know. Because it's literally that one time. So Tinto, this gets worse. So the doctor's like, when was your last period? I'm like, I've not had one because I've just had a baby. And I've not had a period since then. And so the doctor's like, so how do we date the pregnancy then? We need to send you for a scan. Because if we normally calculate from the date of your last period, blah, blah, blah. So if you can't tell us, then send you for a scan. It's probably that, it's just maybe like 3 weeks, or something like that. I'm like, but the only one time I had sex with him was such and such a date, but it just didn't add up. So they sent me for a scan. And while I'm having the scan, I'm on my own in the scan because this nigga is never there. I'm in the scan room and then the sonographer doesn't know that it's my first scan for some reason. So he says to me, oh, no, you're doing really well here. The first head is measuring 18 weeks. I'm like, what do you mean the first head? What do you mean the first head?
No. No,
why
you're not
does
going to
this
say
baby
what I
have
think.
2 heads? I'm telling you, Tinto, it didn't make sense. Why does the baby have 2 heads? Can you? It's like, no, the second head, the second twin. I'm like, fuck. Did you just say the second twin?
Oh my God.
I'm on my own, married to a man who does not love me, who does not want to be with me, who I'm thinking of ways to, finally leave completely. And you're telling me I'm carrying twins, and you're telling me it's 19 weeks along. How? My baby's like 5-6 months old. It was so such a...
Wait a minute. 19 weeks is like 5 months?
I'm telling you.
Hey!
It's literally, like I was telling you, Tinto, the time, because I was trying to tell the doctors, I've not had sex with this man since like my baby was like a month old.
And that's literally it, because your baby's now about 4, 5, 6 months old.
Yeah. So that 1 month, ago it was so strange. It was so strange. I couldn't believe it. And I got out and, I called him and I told him. Yeah. And he was just in shock as well. He was just in shock. It was so hard for me because I was really in a bad place anyway. And now I'm pregnant again. And I'm carrying twins, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Now I have to make this work even harder. I will have to do anything he wants because we need a stable family. We've got 4 kids. We need a good income. We need 2 incomes to provide for 4 kids. We need, stability. So I have to do whatever it takes. But this guy was not there. After he found out that, so they said, we need to send you some more scans because obviously this is quite a late presentation. Normally you have like a scan quite early on and then another scan and another scan. But I was really considered a high risk now because I'm carrying twins and they're telling me that one of the twins has got fluid around his lungs. And they're telling me that's a sign that he could be have Down syndrome. And then they're telling me that if he does have Down syndrome, because you're carrying twins and it's possible that they're identical twins, it means both of them have Down syndrome. So it was such a stressful pregnancy, a stressful, unexpected pregnancy. I had several appointments and I was always on my own. And I'm telling you, trying to go to a scan with a 6-month-old in a pram, and then you're being scanned and they have to do these really thorough, scans, and the baby in the pram is crying. This guy didn't care. He just never showed up. He was just never there. So what Dia did is like, his mom was involved in an accident back home and everyone was trying to get a hold of him. He wouldn't answer. So they told me, they're like, oh, you need to tell Dia that his mom has been in an accident. I called him 65 times in that day. He did not pick up the phone once. And then when he finally... 65, I remember that because, I remember really thinking, what can he be doing that he doesn't answer 65 times over a period of like 3-4 hours? And then he finally picked up the phone at like just after midnight. And he said to me, Rude.
Wow.
Which is, what do you want?
No, hello, hi.
No, just Rude.
Damn.
I'm like, do you know your mom's been in an accident? That's like, oh my gosh, what happened? What's wrong with her? Suddenly he's now interested, obviously. But luckily his mom was okay. It wasn't too serious. And so just a month or so later, so I find out I'm pregnant at 20 weeks. So when I was 33 weeks, I go into preterm labor, 32 weeks. So I've only known about this pregnancy for 3 months and I've been going through all these serious scans and being told I'm expecting twin Down syndrome children and I'm really stressed. So I go into preterm labor and I'm on my own doing the school run. So I had to drop my baby off somewhere else and quickly run the other one off to school and drive myself to hospital. And I'm calling this guy. So remember, I called him 65 times before.
Yeah.
This time I'm calling nonstop. I'm trying to call him. I can see that there's something wrong. I'm in labor and I'm calling him. He does not answer his phone. I drive myself to the hospital. And as soon as I get there, they're like, yeah, the babies are coming. We need to, take you down for a C-section. Do you have someone to call? I'm like, well, I'm trying to call my husband. So finally he picked up because obviously he saw the nurses calling him. He sees that this is a strange number. He finally picked up. And then they're telling him your wife is in labor. And I gave birth on my own team to, a theater room because obviously this is a high-risk pregnancy. They're expecting these twins to come out with some serious complications. And, it's a theater full of all these nurses and doctors. You're on your own and you've got no one to hold your hand because this guy would not answer his phone. So I give birth. Luckily, it ended up being all straightforward, although they were poorly, but there was no Down syndrome, no other illnesses, no issues. But they had sepsis. And I had sepsis. So what I'll tell you now, this is something I found out later on. Okay. Is the reason why I had sepsis is because something called Group B strep. And why the twins came early. So Group B strep is just, something which can be found in your body sometimes. But I had tested negative when I'd, initially been pregnant. I was negative of Group B strep. But now I was positive of it. And it's not an STI, but it can be transmitted sexually. So this is not an STI, but it's because he was sexing other women. And then is passed on this bacteria to me now. And this has caused me to go into preterm labor, and it has gone into the children, the boys,
Lord
the twins.
have mercy.
And they've become septic. I've become septic. I've been very unwell. And, obviously with them being so premature, we're in hospital for like almost a month. They're in and out of incubators and I'm on my own. He's never there. He'll come for 5 minutes, look at them and go. So while I'm in hospital, I've got a family member staying with my other girls at home.
Yeah.
And then she tells me, it's like, oh yeah, there's a woman who came earlier looking for Dia. I'm like, huh? Who was she? So I'm asking him, it's like, oh, I think it's one of my driver's mums. I'm like, why would your driver's mum
be at the house?
So no one told me basically until, so I December 2018, we've been in hospital for a month. The twins are finally, discharged. They're, fit enough to go home. And I'm celebrating. I'm so happy because it's been a very horrible month in hospital. Like I've said, they've been so up and down. I've been up and down. Finally go home. And this is the day my life changed. Because I get home and I'm feeding my twins, one on each breast. And I'm, sat on the sofa feeding them. And then there's a knock at the door. And I'm like, okay, so who could this be? I can't really stand because, like I said, I'm feeding them. So I call up. I'm like, Dia, there's someone at the door. Can you come open the door? So he comes and then he goes out for like 15 minutes. I'm like, huh? What's taking so long? So I put the boys down and then I go and, check.
So hang on. Before you continue with that, there's an important question for me. He's generally absent here and there. You've now got twins. Are you guys together or you're not together at this point? What's your relationship status at this point that there's a knock on the door?
Basically, at this point, looking back, I should have seen that obviously, this thing has ended. We've deaded it. But at that point, we were still married. There's nothing written. Obviously, we sleep in separate bedrooms, and he's just really been absent. But I'm still trying to think that, okay, maybe we've now got 4 kids, so we have to be, we have to make this work. But, all the signs were there. He was showing me who he was. It was me who was just trying to build, something that wasn't there.
So you were together in your own head. As
we're
Adam.
Still married.
Together. Well, on paper, you're married. In the bed, you're in separate beds. He's not present. So you're living together apart.
Pretty much. That's it. But I guess, I don't know. I needed him to tell me that, I'm out. Because you still hold on to the hope that things could change. I still hold on to the hope that we could be the perfect family. And because I've swept so much on the carpet, no one knows how much of a dickhead Dia is. Because he was such a charming person. Up to this day, if you tell anyone any of this, they will tell you that, no way, Ada, you are lying. Not Dia. He's a jokester. Like if you're sat in a room, he will have everyone in stitches. He's a charmer. He will lie to you. My family members always say, oh, Dia's got a sweet tongue. He will make you believe. I don't believe visa. You come with him with a problem. My car is like this. Like, oh, don't worry. Oh, don't even worry about that. Me, I can even buy you a new car. I can do this for you. He's someone like that. And then you actually buy into it because it's just this person who just, he jokes, he laughs, he just wants, but deep down, this guy is a real devil. I'm telling you. So, like I said, someone knocks on the door. I stand up and I go and see. And then there are two white women there, early 20s, stood at the door. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? You could just see that this is something. So, and then Dia says to her, I say to her, who are you? Because I just knew, and I knew it was coming. And Dia's like, do you want to tell her who you are? And the girl says to me, oh, my name's Jezebel, and I'm Dia's girlfriend. And I'm pregnant.
Nkosi yami, hey, please, Ada, have mercy on my heart. Please, I beg.
Why shall I have mercy on you, Tinto? No one had mercy on me. No one had mercy on me. Given I'm still recovering from this sepsis I've had, I'm weak and I'm hearing this. And the thing is, I knew it. This is the blonde hair on the red t-shirt. This is the blonde hair from the mattress. Stood there by my door. And she's like, I'm pregnant. And I just collapsed. There and then. Literally collapsed on the door. I just felt lightheaded. I think it was a combination of everything. My body was not fully recovered. And then the shock horror of having a woman stood by your door telling you this. And what I say to him, and what I've said to him even up to now is, how could you let her tell me like that? Because she found so much satisfaction in telling me. The way she said, you could have just, I don't know what you could have done. You shouldn't have done it in the first place, but just the way it was done, I just collapsed. And my neighbors all came out and they were calling ambulances. And it was just a shock. My body went into shock. And I've been breastfeeding these twins for the last month. If I tell you there and then, Tinto, my breast milk disappeared there and then. I went into complete shock. I could not touch my children. I completely disconnected from them. And these are little boys who are still trying to fight. They're still premature. They need me to help, feed them constantly and maintain their temperature and all that. But I couldn't. They ended up back in hospital.
No.
They've just been discharged after a month in neonatal intensive care. And this happens. I was in shock. I've got no more milk coming out. I'm not prepared with any, formula feeding, because I had intended to breastfeed, but now I couldn't. I didn't touch them the whole night. I don't think I fed them for 12 hours in shock. So obviously for them, that made them, drop temperature and all that. They had to go back in hospital. And he left, and I was there with 4 kids at home. After they came out of hospital, it was just me and these 4 children at home. If I tell you that I lost my mind.
Where was he?
So he actually, that night he went to his relative's house. Because obviously the ambulances were called and then the police were called. It was such a huge commotion because once the girls were there, it was just so much activity going on. So one of my neighbors actually called the police because obviously I've collapsed. The ambulance is there. And then those girls are now fighting. There was 2 sisters arguing with him. So someone called the police. So now, because the police actually asked him to leave. And then some family members came to help me, but I was just in shock. And that is the moment I can tell you that I lost my mind. I mean, really, as in mentally, I got into a severe and deep depression. And like I've said, I couldn't even touch my children. And I couldn't believe it, and 10 days after that incident, I filled in the paperwork for a divorce, and he was refusing. He kept on telling me, we can't divorce. I love you. I made a mistake. I'll make this up to you. I'm like, how do you make this up to me? Why do you suddenly love me now? For the last 2 years, you've basically not been here, not been present, not done anything, not been involved in any of your children's appointments, in their birth, in their them needing to be in incubators. We've just not been present. But suddenly he's going to find all these pastors from all these different churches, to come and pray for us so that we can reconcile, because divorce is not from God. God, suddenly he knows God. So he's telling me that, you know what, we're not divorcing. We'll make this work. We've got 4 beautiful children. We've been blessed. You're my wife and I love you. And in that moment, Tinto, where you're feeling so humiliated like that, you will, again, there's me eating up those crumbs that is feeding me, that he loves me. So I'm still taking it. I'm still having, So, and the funny thing is, one of these pastors who's coming to pray for us is on the DL is also, hitting on me and asking me out. I'm just like, this man of God.
Come on, Amy.
This man of God is coming to pray for me and then sending me WhatsApp messages that he's there if I need him and he can be, the one for me. I'm just like, what the fuck is this, honestly? But that's another story. So Dia is just, there begging me back, begging to take me back, for me to take him back. At the same time, he's going back to Jezebel and, saying, oh, I'm just waiting for the boys to get better, then I'm leaving her. So Jezebel finds me on Facebook and she started to torture me. Because Jezebel was a 20-year-old white girl that he used to work with.
20-year-old?
Yeah, she was 20.
Okay.
So she fell in love with him. They'd been together for a year. In fact, the relationship started the day I gave birth to my daughter, my second daughter. And they've been in this relationship for a year. And, all these times, the Christmas I spent on my own while he was doing deliveries, no, he was with her. The New Year I spent on my own while he was doing deliveries, no, he was with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that blonde hair on his T-shirt, that was her hair. And they've just been together for, that long. And, she said she was pregnant. So she expected him to just leave and go, but he didn't. And she took out that anger on me. So she'd be going on. And the thing is, I started to stalk her too. When you're in pain and I was stalking her Facebook, her Instagram, her Snapchat. And she'd be posting, they really were together. He'd say he's going to work and then, that he wants to come back and work on it. And we're trying to do all these counseling things. And, but he'd just go and tell her that, oh, I'm only with her because, I just want the babies to be settled and then I'll leave her. So she'd be sending me messages that, oh, do you know he was here? He slept here last night. So some of them were true, some of them weren't. But it was torture. It was hell. She'd send me pictures of them in bed together because, she's wondering why he's not leaving me and going to be with her there and then. So, it was hell. I think that December, that Christmas now, because this is the time I found out, I left and I went to an Airbnb and I left him with the kids. And I just spent time to myself. I just slept in an Airbnb and did nothing really. I just went and I slept. I just wanted to be away from him. And when I came back the next day, he's like, where were you? I was like, oh yeah, I lied to him. I just wanted to hurt him as well. I was like, oh, no, I realized that, all these years I've just been sleeping with you. I should have been out there sleeping with other men. I finally found another man yesterday. I was just trying to hurt him. Do you know what he did?
What did he do?
He punched me in the face. And he went and he got a knife from the kitchen. And he said, what did you say? I thought he was going to kill me, Tinto. I had to ring the police. So this is, again, how the police got involved. He held a knife to me because, I was just trying to hurt him. He couldn't take it. But he's been giving me torture for the last, I don't know how many years. And there he was, punching me in the face and holding a knife. And telling me he was going to kill me for saying that. Well, he thought it was true, but it actually wasn't. So the police ended up being involved, and because we had children, we had to get social services involved as well. And it was just a horrible. 2019 was the worst year of my life because I suffered severe depression.
Oh my God!
I disconnected from my children completely. And I'd take one of them, the oldest one, to school at 8:30 in the morning. And I'd come home and sit on the sofa and cry until 3 on the dot when my alarm would ring, that it's time to go and pick up the girl from school. So those 3, the twins and the other girl, they would literally I would not look at them. I would not touch them. I would not do anything for 6 hours. I'll just sit there and cry. And that's when my whole community sort of, people from church, my family members, everyone was just trying to help me go through that depressive phase. And that's when he was really putting the knife in. Like I said, he'd be telling me he wants to reconcile with me while going back to her saying he's leaving soon. And she'd be sending me all the evidence, all the messages, all the texts that they're sending between them. And I begged him, just sign the divorce papers. Let this be done. Just get out of my life. You can't keep doing this. He did not sign those divorce papers. He completely refused to sign the divorce papers until May 2019. He finally, I had to, I had to beg him. I told him, if you don't sign them, I'm going to kill myself, because I was done. It was just too much. You know how she'd say, oh yeah, Dia was here last night. And this is what we did. And then he'd be telling me, no, I didn't. It was just a joke, because she was really enjoying torturing me. And
Can you help me understand? If she was saying things that were hurtful, what is it that made you keep that door open?
I think at this point now, to be honest, it was more for my sanity, because obviously once the social services were involved, I was trying to get better mentally. And so I knew that, because he was actually at home now again, because I like I said, I'd have 6 hours where I didn't touch those children. So if there's no other person there to feed them, to look after them, what's going to happen in those 6 hours? Those children are just not fed. Nappies not changed. I was not myself, Tinto. I'd lost my mind. I was just struggling.
Yeah. In fact, what I meant was keeping the door open for the girl to constantly give you the updates.
Oh, no. My
so
gosh.
Him. It's the girl.
She literally, I don't know how many Instagram accounts she made. She'd send her friends. She'd, her sisters. She had loads of sisters. The sisters constantly messaging me with different messages. Oh, I'd block her on Instagram. I'd block her on Facebook. I'd block her on whatever. She had my number. She sent me flowers to my house. She knew where I lived. So she was just dealing with her own shit. She's a 20-year-old child, who's been lied to, because apparently she was lied to as well. The only time she found out was because when I was giving birth in hospital, he told her that his nephew had broken his leg and he was in hospital helping the nephew. But someone found out and told her that, no, Dia's got a wife who just gave birth. That's why he's constantly in hospital. She just gave birth. So that's how she found out. So she was also, in pain and taking it out very childishly on me. And so that was 2019. He finally signed the divorce papers and then he ran away to Zim. He completely left me on my own with my 4 kids and he just left. And that's the time I had, a eureka moment in 2020. I decided, you know what, I'm done crying. And I just, finally the divorce was finalized and I decided to find myself again.
He signed it eventually?
He finally signed it. He finally signed it and it went through and we were completely divorced. And 2020, like I said, I used that whole year and the lockdown and COVID to just find myself, to work on myself, to do everything I could to, sort myself out. He was away for a whole year. And when they say the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, Dia was not even done. I've moved on with my life. I'm living my life. I'm just doing the best I can. And he comes back in my life in September 2020. And the thing is, not in my life, because I'm like, okay, we share kids. I'll never be able to block him from seeing his children. Although he's run away for a whole year, not contacted his children, not fed them, not done anything for them, but he's still their dad. So I allowed him back. I'm like, okay, you can visit your children every night. You can see them. You can have 2 hours at nighttime with them. That allowed me to go to the gym. So he'd come like at 7 p.m. and then I'd go to the gym. And then when I came back at 10, he'd go. He'd come for like 2-3 hours and then I'd go out, do my own thing. I was actually seeing someone at the time. I'd moved on with my life. I was so happy. 2020 was such a good year for me. Like I told you, I'd gained weight and all that. For me, I took up running. I did the couch to 5K. I was running 5K a day. I was even running half marathons. I was loving my life, seeing people, dating, just going out, enjoying my life, And although it was lockdown at some points, it was still one of the best years of my life. 2020 was. I was finally free of the devil. He was in a completely different country and I was healing mentally, physically, emotionally. All this baggage, all this torture, all these things that have happened for the last 20 years, I was just happy. But unfortunately, January 2021, I had problems with my gallbladder and I needed surgery. I'd been on a waiting list for like ages, with COVID, everyone was on waiting list. So they finally had a date for me and like, you need to have surgery. I'm like, oh, so what am I going to do? Because I'll need time to recover from the surgery. So he's like, okay, I can stay with the kids while you're having your surgery. I'm like, okay, fine. So I go and I have the surgery. It's only a day case, but, I still need time to recover. I can't be lifting them and feeding them and all that. And when I came out of hospital, unfortunately, I caught COVID. And then we all had COVID. And then because he was already there looking after the kids, we had to self-isolate all together. So I was so unwell because I was recovering from surgery as well as having COVID. I became really unwell. So for 14 days straight, I was in bed, Tinto. I couldn't wake up. I was really ill and he was so hands-on. He was doing every nappy change, every bottle, as he should, because these are his children, by the way. Yeah. So he's doing all that. And for 14 days, this is the first time in I don't know how long I have been able to just rest and sleep. And what I took, this is I've been nonstop from the day, they were all born, and it's just been me. And the whole last year that he's been away, it's just been me. So these 14 days gave me this sense of security, like, oh, you know what? I don't have to do this on my own. He's there. He's their father. He should be doing all this, So all along, I've been allowing him like 2-hour visits. And then he says to me, I just want to be more involved in my children's lives. I want to be, hands-on. I want to be here. I want to bond with them, get closer to them. And for me, it was an easy one. Like, I was like, oh, that just takes the pressure away from me. So I allowed him back. But this time I wasn't dumb anymore. I wasn't doing this for any love or anything like that. I was doing this completely for the children. So I said, you know what, for the kids, we can do this. So I allowed him, and I actually moved to another house, and he really did do everything like, hands-on, and just gave me a break. I was able to do other things, go back to work, focus on myself, carry on with my gym and running and, just do other things, just not being a mom of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's all this was. This was a reconciliation for the sake of the kids. But not in his head. He said, we need to be a family. I've changed. I've learned my lesson. I was young. I was stupid. I was dumb. I'm here. I want to be their dad. I want to be a good husband. We can do this. We can do that. But you know what? This time I was wise. I did not fall for it. So although I allowed him back in my life and we actually shared the bed, I could not kiss him. Because for me, kissing is more intimate than sex. I could sleep with him because, at the end of the day, sex is just about the meeting of a penis and a vagina.
So don't use could, did you?
Yes, I did. Not like all the time, but it was literally like, okay, we've got some sexual needs. We can meet them there. But I couldn't actually kiss him. Like, that's more intimate. That's more love. That's more passionate for me anyway. I know it's different for different people. But I kept my guard up.
But this time he was with protection, right? Because remember, he's giving you strep B. He's busy collecting shit from elsewhere. That's one.
The funny thing is,
and you're as fertile as Zim soil. Right?
In terms of fertility, no. I had that on lock. I knew. I said, I say to my doctor one time, are you able to actually take out my ovaries, my intestines, all my internal organs, anything that can make me pregnant? So I was just like, I'm not having it. But no, in terms of fertility, I knew I wasn't going to get pregnant. But I don't know why I still slept with him without protection, to be honest. Because each time I'd have a little bit of an itch, because women can itch for many reasons.
Exactly.
And I always, that's the thing. That's why I say I hardly slept with him. I think I slept with him maybe 5-6 times, because afterwards I would go and get tested. And in fact, I remember one time requesting a test, like I've requested a test this week, requested a test next week. The sexual health service actually said, no, we do not do that.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, we can't keep sending you a test every week. They're there to stop me. But no, so I just didn't actually attach this time when he came back in my life again. But he still managed to derail everything, He'd still just be dodgy. So, but I wasn't focused on him anymore. I wasn't actually interested in him as a husband or a partner. I just needed him to look after his children. Just needed some sort of, balance. I've got 2 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. They need their dad there. That's what I was thinking. I grew up without my dad. They've got their dad at least, although I'm not his wife, but we've got a stable home. From the outside, Tinto, no one knew. Everyone thought we were just this happy family for the last year. everyone just thought, okay, this happy family, 4 children, that's nice. Mom is there, dad is there. They didn't know that, it wasn't that type of relationship. Although he tried, I was just not interested. I just now knew him for who he was. But anyway, he started going back and forth to Zimbabwe. And one of the times he came back, he left his laptop open. And then I just happened to just check. And to be honest, I can't even say I was heartbroken, because I knew that if there'd been 20 women, there'll be 21, there'll be 22, there'll be 23. But I still checked his phone, his laptop, and I found World Remit receipts. So for the last 3 years, since 2020, he'd been sending money to some girl in Zimbabwe. Let's call her Tenda. So he's been sending money twice a month to Tenda for about 2-3 years. In my head, I was just like, nah, this is child maintenance. What else can it be,
Yeah.
So I just said to him, you know what is this? And then again, all to do with the lies. Like, oh no, she's this woman who helps me with renovations. I'm currently renovating my mom's house. And I'm like, so why do you need to send her money? You've got your own sister in Zim. You've got family in Zim. You've got your own mom in Zim you can send money for her own renovations. Why her? And again, all that bullshit, all the lies. I was like, you know what? Just get out of my bedroom. Get out. And he actually went and I got him a little bed, and he was now sleeping with the boys in their bedroom. And from the day I told him that, he stopped contributing financially in that household. That was June last year. He didn't contribute a single penny. He just didn't contribute at all. I think he was trying to punish me, because he knew the only reason I had him in my life was for these children.
Yeah.
So he just thought, okay, he had a plan already, a goal, an agenda. So then one day in January, he just told me, I'm going to Zim tomorrow. And he left Tinto. If I'm telling you that this guy left, he went to Zimbabwe, and he blocked me on all platforms. So that, he left like I was still supposed to be going to work. So obviously we've been sharing the childcare duties and all that. So he decided that, he's going to leave, not tell me anything, tell me he's coming back in 2 weeks. So, but as soon as he left, he just went, blocked me, blocked everyone. And even his children, so he's not spoken to them, not heard from him. He's just been gone. And he thought it was going to, make me fall off like all over again, destroy me or anything like that. But no, I've been fine. And because I'm a person who's, who knows my worth, I wasn't even bothered. I just like this guy, he was just using me. He was biting the hand that fed him. And the only thing, like I said, for me, I was thinking, okay, I just want a perfect, I want a dad for my kids. That's what kept me sort of holding on to this dickhead. But you know what? I'm their mom and I'm their everything. And luckily, because I had my money saved, I've got my finances in order, I've been able to just carry on as if it doesn't exist. So wherever he is, Diablos, that's all I can say.
Yeah. I have nothing to say. Except express gratitude that you are in the good space you are.
I am, honestly. And if I'd not had the therapy, oh my God, this could have just derailed me. But everyone needs therapy. And I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. Yeah. And I actually know that he was something that was always holding me back.
And, I'm aware of some of the stuff that you do to keep yourself ticking and going. And that is some serious consistency. And I applaud you.
100%.
You've done so well.
Thank you. Thank you, Tinto.
I think at some point you may have been dealing with the development of a dependent personality disorder.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying this because of some material I've been reading about how people are and what shapes people. And this is what it sounds like. And what's also very impressive is when they talk about the diagnosis and treatment of such things, they recommend 2 things highly, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And then they also encourage what's called psychodynamic psychotherapy, and then possibly antidepressants, but that is always as a last option.
Yeah.
So when you say in one of your lessons that people need to get therapy, which was your last lesson. Everybody needs therapy. It actually ties in with the medical recommendation and is manifest in your reality, because you're saying if you hadn't gone for therapy, you don't think you'd have been where you are today.
100%. I would not. There's no way I would have managed to, and like I've always said before, there was a time I could not even speak about, the atrocities that these guys carried out without crying. But now I just stayed like, this is what happened. Yeah, fuck it. It happens, because I've just found ways of dealing with things and just, knowing myself firstly is what's helped me. So yeah, definitely.
Hey, Ada, I'm really happy for you. I feel like I just need to digest a little bit, so I don't have much to say, but play back your lessons. First one being, number one, trust your instinct. Just trust your gut. And I think your gut was telling you this ain't the right thing the first time you broke up with him, and then you ended up taking that rat poison. Right? Lesson number two, live your life and don't make sacrifices for anyone, because now this affected your choice of degree program.
100%, yeah, up till this day.
So up until this day, you really haven't lived what you may have wanted, but thank goodness for the opportunity that you have to try and make things right within yourself. And the one thing that you do to keep yourself alive and ticking is that confirmation that you can be dedicated, stick to something, and actually get meaningful results. So I'm more than confident you're going to make that happen. Lesson number three, which I've tried to translate to say, be careful, the hand that feeds will get bitten off.
Yeah.
Right? At some point. And yeah, come on, it was more than obvious given what you did for this person by bringing them from where they were originally to be with you, and all the support that you gave whilst they did their program in school, and they didn't get to use their degree stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Lesson number four, kids, ... Don't have them until you're ready. Babies don't fix shit. Don't stay in a toxic relationship for the sake of the kids.
Yeah.
Which is a radical shift to what culturally we are told. They say, Shinga Gariravana.
No.
And yet at some point, kids can read in between the lines to say that mom and dad are not happy. And then if you're in there long enough, it ends up being their reality, and they think it's normal to be like that. And now what you're doing is passing on trauma to another generation who does know how to do better.
Yeah, 100%.
And then last but not least, everybody needs therapy. Don't get into a relationship until you've healed from your trauma. Ada, thank you, man. I appreciate this. You guys have been listening to another episode of the Feeling Station podcast. I'm your host, Tinto, and I will catch you in next weekend's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis andaro raini and chake zaini.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis andaro raini and chake zaini.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.